What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Fantasy Taps weekly bets, picks, parlays, teasers mainly. And then even this week, we got another unique betting type coming in that could win you some big money if you guys listen in and follow through. We do have our guy, Brad, here. Brad, the Bookie Beater. You can find him at Twitter or on Twitter at Brad, the Bookie Beater. If you have any questions for him. Brad, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, John, and it's actually at Bookiebeatrbrad.
See, there we go.
See, you gotta, make sure you follow on Twitter, follow along, because we're posting lots of stuff throughout the week. So make sure you're following that and at the Fantasy Tap on Twitter. So make sure you're following all along all over socials.
Also, guys, hit us up. Make sure you guys are subscribed, liking these videos, and hitting the bell icon, as me and Mike are going to be live at the game tomorrow for our at 11:30 for our start sit live stream, giving you guys the inactives. Brad might jump into the chat, say hello to everyone if you have any pick things last minute, and then I think Hugh's going to be in there as well, answering any last minute DFS questions for everyone we got. Just a quick recap of last week. Brad and Mike, both had a rough one. Kansas City did not follow through for them. They ended up going 1-3 on their 4 different bets. And out of some miraculous miracle, I went 3-1 last week. So I'm throwing my flag up there because this is probably the only time I'm actually leading in the record so far. So looking pretty good. We'll update you guys next week again about how we're doing. But I'd like to know if you guys are following along. Which bets are you taking? How are you doing off the ones that you're taking from us? Let us know what you think and how much money you are putting in your pockets or slightly might be losing. But anyways, let's jump into this week's picks. Mike is not able to join us for today's episode, so we're also going to be throwing his picks in, and we're actually going to start off with his second because he only gave us 4. Me and Brad both got 5. Actually, Brad, you got 6. Let's start off with you. Let's jump in with your first one. You got Houston and Buffalo over 47 at -105.
Yes, so I absolutely love this bet this week. I do not know why people are so stuck on this under right here. 47 is not that high of a number. And while, yes, Houston is struggling altogether as a team, struggling on offense, but they're also struggling heavily on defense. And what we have seen from the last couple of weeks from the Buffalo Bills has been Josh Allen lighting it up. He's back to his last season form. And even when he's not, the rest of the team is rallying around him and putting in some work. You got Manny Sanders catching those bomb deep passes. Stephon Diggs hasn't even really had a big blow-up game yet, and they're still winning by large margins. Okay, so I honestly really like them to get out into the lead early on, get a big lead, and yes, then that's when they're going to kind of slow it down. They're going to be running the ball more. But you know what? Buffalo's terrible at running the ball, so they tend to run the ball through the air anyways. So it's going to lead to more passing and more scoring. And then garbage time is our best friend when we're betting the overs. And Houston, if there's one thing that they can do, they can still get the ball to Brandon Cooks, and the man is still doing a lot of work. So all we need from Houston for this bet to hit is, honestly, in my opinion, 10 to 14 points from Houston. And I think that's very doable, especially when you add in garbage time. So I really like the over in this Houston-Buffalo game.
I'm a big fan of it. I really like Houston this year, just as those big underdogs. I think they can win almost any game. Haven't really played many good people yet, but I still got hope for them. And going up against Buffalo, like we have seen it, their defense is stout, but they do give up garbage time. They have been allowing some teams to put up points against them that they shouldn't. And like you're saying, 47's realistically, when you got 2 numbers to add together, is not that high of a number. So I think 14 from them would only leave the Buffalo Bills to require 23 at that point, if my math is correct.
33.
33. Oh, okay. 33, which is realistically not unattainable from them. I think it's going to be a great game anyways, and I think Houston has every right to score 21 this week, which makes that number even more beautiful. I'm going to start off with my next one. I'm going to give you guys Washington -1.5 going up against Atlanta. I've been picking on Atlanta this weekend. I do not think that Atlanta is going to be able to keep up with Washington. A lot of people are, including Brad, because we had a little talk about this before the episode, do have some hope that the Falcons can put up a respectable game again and maybe walk away with the win on this one. I, on the other hand, think that Washington's defense is going to finally turn itself around and look like the defense that we saw last year. Maybe see Chase Young get some sacks finally for Mike to help him win that sack record. But Washington at 1.5, I think Washington definitely just walks away with the win here, and I think that it's definitely 3 or more. I don't think it's going to be a 1-point game. I think they win even at a tie, even close to a tie to close the game, that it ends in a field goal. So I'm going to take Washington -1 and 110. Just give it to me.
So I can't get behind this bet because, honestly, one of the bets I was considering this week was actually Atlanta straight money line or taking the 1.5 because it's not that much juiced on the money line. It would only be about a plus 150 or 160 bet. So it's probably just better off. You're probably getting more value to take the points in that situation. And here's why. Atlanta is back at home now. And I don't know what's been going on with Atlanta, but we do know one thing. They have talent. Matt Ryan has been a league MVP before. He's a roller coaster of a player. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been around. We know that he has the talent. It just hasn't been clicking recently. Okay? And Calvin Ridley was one of the fantasy community's darlings this last year as he looked amazing. And without Julio, we've been expecting him to take that next step forward. Well, I think this is that week where we see that connection finally click back together for Ryan and Ridley. And I just don't have as much faith in the Washington defense to repeat what they did last year when they were playing a pretty terrible schedule. So, honestly, Atlanta, after getting that win in New York last week against the Giants, coming back home, I think this is a good spot for them. They're going to be rested. They're just going to win. That's what they're going to do. So I just can't get behind that bet. But I understand I'm the contrarian in this aspect. You're actually going along with where the sharper money is actually going in. So most of the money is coming in on the Washington side.
I just watched them get beat up last week by Buffalo by 43 points. I don't see it happening again. But, hey, it's a -1.5. So it comes down to which team wins the game. And we've seen this year pretty much any team can win any game, or at least make it a really close one. We saw the Lions keeping up with the Ravens until a record-breaking field goal. So, hey, I'm going to go back to you with your next one. Who do you got?
Okay, so my next one, speaking of those Detroit Lions, actually, we're going to take Detroit going to Chicago. It's an in-division game. I'm taking Detroit +3, okay? Anytime I can get the better quarterback getting points, I'm going to like that side a little bit better. And, yes, Jared Goff is not a great quarterback. But Jared Goff is a hell of a lot better than anything that Chicago has been trotting out so far. Now, do I think that Justin Fields is going to have a much better career than Jared Goff? Of course. I'm a huge Justin Fields fan. But he's still a rookie. And he's a rookie playing for a offensive-minded head coach that doesn't have a mind. So it just doesn't – it's not clicking so far. The defense is already beaten up in Chicago. It's not as strong as it once was. They're already tracking backwards. And Detroit, while they haven't had a lot of receiving weapons, they've had a few guys stepping up recently that are not looking too terrible. And then the double-headed monster out of the backfield with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift running that ball, I think that it's a in-division game against a team with a lot of question marks at quarterback. They don't even know who they're starting at quarterback yet. So I think that I got to go with the team that seems a little bit more stable. And since it's in an in-division game, they're close. These games always play a lot closer than what we realize. Give me the team that's getting 3 points here.
Hey, I feel – do you really think they don't know who they're playing at quarterback, or is it just part of the – I mean, Nagy didn't even name Fields a starter until it was, I believe, the Saturday before the week of. Oh, no, Andy Dalton was hurt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dalton was hurt. But the problem is after that last thing, I feel like Matt Nagy is going back and forth in his own head about, he's overthinking it because – and the only reason I actually think this might be true, normally I would think it was kind of blah, 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 just coach speak. But he didn't just say it might be between Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. He brought in the idea of starting Nick Foles.
And the guys won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he won a Super Bowl. And we've also seen he's pretty much the same person as Andy Dalton with that huge roller coaster career. A lot of highs and a lot of lows. So I think you already know what you've got in those two players. So it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't keep starting Justin Fields and let the kid get this development and get this experience. And when you're making just these many piss poor decisions, I just can't trust you as a head coach, especially where you're laying points. So I have to take the other side with Detroit.
Gotcha. All right, so let's jump into Mike's first pick. He's got Baltimore and Denver over 44 at minus 115. I'm going to say I like the idea of it. Baltimore's defense doesn't really scare me very much. I think that Denver is very capable of putting up their own 20 points, and Baltimore coming out with the win should be able to put 24 on top of that. So I'm going to say go for it, shoot it, take it.
I don't hate the over in this aspect. I think that, even though the Broncos have, lost a couple different players, they still have what looks is a pretty strong wide receiving core with Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick filling in for some depth there. And then Noah Fant has looked really good at the tight end position. So the receiving options, they're going to be able to move the ball because Baltimore's secondary has not been nearly as scary as it has in years past. So I definitely don't hate this pick. The only thing that kind of concerns me a little bit is that it is in Mile High and it's still early in the year. So opposing teams coming in tend to get a little bit more gassed earlier on in the game. So it kind of depresses the scoring totals sometimes. That's the only concern I have. But other than that, the two teams don't scare me as far as really hammering each other's with a strong defensive showing.
Yeah. Question. It's funny you brought that up because Brad was on for the DFS episode. I'm sorry. Hugh was on for the DFS episode, and he brought that up when we were talking about some of the players in Denver this week about the rushing quarterbacks early in the season having an issue playing at a high level throughout the entirety of the game. So, hey, I like to hear it again because it kind of reiterates the idea of it. It's true as far as we've seen so far. So let's jump over to my next pick. I'm going to say, and this kind of reiterates my love for Houston this week, give me Houston, but give me plus 17. Hey, I don't think they're going to get blown out to the point that it's going to be a two and a half score game. I obviously think that we're right. Brad's absolutely right. We're going to see an over here, and we're only going to see an over because Houston's going to keep up with Buffalo. As Buffalo's going to try to keep just putting the gas pedal down. So plus 17, give it to me all day. That's 2 touchdowns and a field goal. You get all of it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think there's any way you can really seriously be laying 17 points with Buffalo. I mean, we've seen them play throughout the year, and yes, they have a high-powered offense, and yes, they have a pretty decent defense, but they're not world beaters that their defense is so extremely talented and their offense is that extremely potent that they're going to boat race somebody completely like that. Just, we got to remember, as you pointed out earlier, with Detroit hanging around with Baltimore beating KC, with KC losing to the Chargers, we see all sorts of craziness happen every week. And what a lot of people fail to realize is even the worst of these teams, even the Cleveland Browns 0-17 season, the Detroit Lions 0-17 season, every player on those teams is still a professional football player, and they're still one of the most physically gifted athletes in the world. Okay? They're all extremely talented people,
Absolutely.
even the ones we think of that suck. They're real freaks of nature, all of them. And any given Sunday is a quote for a reason because these upsets happen anytime, all the time. So, yeah, you got to take the 17 if you're betting this game at all.
All righty. I like where you're going with this. Give me your next pick.
All right, so my next pick, we're going to go with your team. Give me the Miami Dolphins at home, -2.5. They're playing Indy, okay? So this line opened at Miami -1.5. It's moved towards the 3, but it hasn't gotten all the way there, and that's key for me. I wouldn't like this bet if I had to lay 3 or 3.5 necessarily because Miami's offense is still pretty suspect with Jacoby Brissett starting. But I think Jacoby Brissett is the better quarterback in the game at this point. At this point, Carson Wentz looks like he just doesn't really have a clue as to what he's doing. And that Colts offense looks so inept. They only have one actual receiver on the team, it feels like, with Michael Pittman. with T.Y. Hilton still banged up and still dealing with injuries, and they've been dealing with offensive line injuries as well. Their running game's not sticking with it. I just don't understand how they're going to put up points offensively against the Dolphins. And as long as this line stays under 3, I really like the Dolphins to cover it at home this week.
Hey, give it to me. Mike's been telling people this week, Jacoby Brissett, revenge game against the Colts. They didn't trust him, so time to prove him wrong. I like it. And obviously, being a Dolphins fan, it's very, very easy for me to root for them. Going with Mike's next pick, we got Leonard Fournette over 3.5 receptions, minus 165. I don't know how I feel about this one, honestly. I don't really like any of the running backs in Tampa at all, fantasy-wise. Trust any of them to get any sort of touches over maybe 1 per game. So far, Leonard Fournette's gotten three or more receptions 2 out of the 3 games he's played. Got 3 last week when we saw Gio Bernard really have a huge week on the game. But going up against New England, we can't expect Leonard Fournette to be getting a lot of action at the end of the game, as we do expect Tom Brady to just be throttling the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick in the most hyped revenge game of all time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there's been a game quite this anticipated in quite some time.
Did Brett Favre ever play
Green Bay when he played for Minnesota?
Oh yeah, twice a year.
Yeah, I mean, they play twice a year, brother. Yes, that was some big deals back then, but it's kind of even a bigger deal now to see Brady going back to New England after winning a Super Bowl with the Bucs.
I think it's the first time they've seen each other too, in person.
It is. This is the first time, so it's going to be pretty wild, and I know Brady's going to be looking to put on a show. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on that game, which we'll get to later, but I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about the over 3.5 receptions. Leonard Fournette has had 12 receptions on the season so far, so he's averaging 4 a game. But I still think that line's a little strong just because they don't dump off to the running back nearly as much in Tampa because they have such strong receiving options. I will say that since Gronk is out, that does make this bet a little bit more likely because he'll probably have to use the running back as a safety valve without Gronk there. But I worry about this because New England's defense is nothing that's scaring me whatsoever. So I don't know how much pressure they're going to be able to get on Brady that would force him to dump off those passes because their receivers will be open. I mean, they're getting AB back this week, and they have Evans and Godwin who look great. So you have hope for the bet, but I would lay it. I'm not betting this one myself.
All right. My next one on the board, I'm taking the under for Carolina versus Dallas. Now, I'm going to make this one quick because the only reason I'm taking this one is I feel like it's pretty well against the chalk. I don't think a lot of people are doubting Sam Darnold right now, and everyone knows Dak Prescott's more than capable of putting up points. My thing here is I think we're going to have Carolina get exposed this week as a team that's really not that good, just been having a lot of things happen for them. And I do think that Dallas's defense is able to shut down DJ Moore with Trayvon Diggs, and it turns into just a slow rolling game. And I think there's a strong possibility this game is just a really, really boring one. So I'm not really excited for it. And I think 51.5 is a very obtainable number. It's not a very high over under, but I do think we have an opportunity. This game doesn't even crack 35.
I just can't see this one being as something that you're not going to end up sweating at the very last minute of the game. Dallas's offense is so potent. And while Carolina's defense has made some improvements, it's not good. And Dallas has still, in my opinion, is one of the worst defenses in the league. Trayvon Diggs is coming in, but, I mean, he has looked pretty decent. But the Carolina Panthers have some decent wide receivers, have multiple good wide receivers in DJ Moore. I know Robbie Anderson hasn't done a ton, but he's always that dangerous, deep threat that can score on any play. And Terrace Marshall is looking more and more involved each week. So I just don't necessarily I wouldn't want to bet the over, But clearly Vegas doesn't think that this is going to be a like a big, beat down by Dallas, because it's only a 4-point spread and it's in Dallas. So I just can't see this not getting really close to that number because of the lack of defensive power. So that's why I'd stay either I'm betting the over or not betting it. And for me, I'm not betting this one.
See, for me, I'm in the exact opposite one. I really like I guess I'm just starting to doubt the Panthers here, but I do like the under here. Only 5 out of 16 5 out of the 16 games last week hit over 50 points. So, I mean, yeah, 20 from each team is very obtainable. 3 touchdowns and you're golden. But games can go by quickly with just some bad play or just two teams playing well on defense that don't have – I mean, Dallas – I'm not doubting Dallas's ability to score points. I think they're going to have a great game. I think they definitely have a 20-plus pointer. I think we find Carolina having a hard time to score this week. No Christian McCaffrey, no Dan Arnold. You're down to your 3 receivers, and that's pretty much your entire offense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't hate the bet. I think it's going to be – I think 51.5 is probably the right number, and that's why I can't see really any value going one way or the other, and that's why I'd stay away from it. But I definitely understand your argument. I mean, there's a very real possibility that Dallas gets out to a big lead and then just runs the ball between Zeke and Pollard the rest of the game and doesn't try to really score. And so then they miss the over because of that. So I get what you're saying there.
I got you. So let's do something we can agree on. Your next pick.
All right. My next pick, I'm going with the Monday night game. Yes, the Monday night game. I couldn't remember if it was the Sunday night game. That's the Tampa Bay game. The Monday night game, Las Vegas Raiders are going to the Los Angeles Chargers. And I want over on this 52-point over-under. I know 52 points is a lot. With the Chargers favored at 3.5, though, Vegas clearly thinks this is going to stay a pretty close game. Yeah. And Raiders have kept it together. They've kept it going. And you know who's looked absolutely great this year?
You say Derek
Carr. Derek Carr has actually looked really good this year so far. Yes, he gets bailed out from some terrible decisions by his amazing tight end, Darren Waller, because he loves to throw it to him in double coverage, in triple coverage. If there's a dude riding on Darren Waller's shoulders, he's probably still going to throw it to him. It doesn't matter. And that's an issue. But the only thing that leads to is turnovers. And turnovers lead to points one way or the other. So I think that this is going to be a very competitive game, and it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. It's an in-division game, so I think it'll be close. But we've seen these teams get into shootouts before because that's what they're driven to do. These teams have to push forward that envelope of trying to get the highest-powered offenses because they're in the same division as KC. And we know that KC can hang 40 on anybody at any time. So that's what these teams have been pushed towards. And you know what? I mocked this hiring when it happened, but Gruden has actually done a pretty good job recently, okay? Pro Football Focus has him – I'm not even kidding. Pro Football Focus has him as the 5th best play caller this season so far. Okay? He has been doing a great job with that offense, and he is an offensive-minded coach. He's made some terrible decisions elsewhere with player personnel and things of that nature. I agree that he's made bad plays there. But just looking at the coaching aspect of things, he's doing a good job. And I think that he will have them prepared to go out to L.A., and we also know that the Chargers don't have a true home field advantage.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't have that home field advantage because L.A., I mean, it's L.A., guys. They never really fill up those stadiums, and that's a big stadium. And who is going to travel down to L.A.?
The Raiders fans.
Raiders fans. It's pretty close for them, okay? So I think you're going to see a lot of Raiders fans in the stadium there. I think it's going to be a pretty even split there between the teams, and you're going to see a lot of points thrown up. So that's why I like the over of 52 in this game.
Okay. I think I saw something where it's estimated that 80% of the people in the stadium for that game are going to actually be Raiders fans and not Chargers fans. Let's move on to Mike's third pick. He's got Brady over 2.5 passing touchdowns again. I don't know if this was the second or third week in a row where we've got Brady on that line. Hasn't hit it last week, but he's going for it now at plus 110, and I think this is the week to do it. As we've already talked about, this game's going to be Brady just demolishing the Patriots, so hit it up.
Yeah, I absolutely love this bet. I mean, he's hit that line. He's hit over on that line 2 out of the 3 weeks so far, and he's going to hit it a third time this week. He's going to put up a ton of points against the Patriots. So I absolutely love this line.
Absolutely. My next pick, Arizona. It's actually a teaser. We got Arizona plus 10.5 and the New York Giants at plus 13. I think that Arizona and the Rams are going to keep it a really close game, and so giving me 10.5 points, I'll take it. Likely in my mind, I think the Rams win on a field goal, if not a full touchdown. So I get covered in both areas there. So I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, looking at the Arizona Rams side of things, as we talked about earlier, when we're talking about in-division games between the Rams and Arizona, those games always play a lot closer because the teams are more familiar and they know how important those games are. Those division games matter so much more towards playoffs eventually down the road. So it keeps those games tighter. So getting that line up to through the 7 and through the 10, which is another key number. So getting up to 10.5, I like that a lot more because I do think it will at least be within a touchdown. So I don't hate that bet, and especially because you're getting through the 10. So that's the key here is you're pushing it, getting to that 10.5 so that you can't get boxed out and lose your teaser if it lands flat on the 10. So I really like that side of the bet. What was the other side of the bet? You said the Giants plus 13? Okay, so plus 13, I like that because the over-under in that game is only 41.5 points. That is not a lot of points expected to be had, so every point you have becomes even more valuable when the over-under is so low. Okay, so I definitely don't hate that. New Orleans has a stout defense, but we've seen some definite concerns on the offensive side of the ball. So yep. I definitely think that within 13 points, I definitely like that.
Yeah, I think the Giants have a chance of winning it, so that's the main reason I'm grabbing that. Hit them with your next bet.
All right, so it is a teaser. So I'm going to go back to the same teaser that I was using last week because I cannot believe that KC lost a second week in a row, but it was against the Chargers. What KC is not going to do this week is lose a third one in a row to Philly. This is something Patrick Mahomes has never done in his career, has lost 3 games in a row. Never happened, and I don't think it's going to start this week. Philly is not that strong of a team, and KC is going to be out for blood this week. I think this is the week that Andy Reid is like, hell, forget all of this, saving these plays for later on in the year, saving this, that. He's going to have a statement game saying, hey, we're not going to be the bottom of this division. And he's going to make sure that they win this game, and they're going to win it handily. So KC -1, I'm a big fan of. The other side, I'm actually teasing down New Orleans against the Giants because I actually don't think the Giants really have a chance to win this game. I think it will be about a 7 to 10 point line, so it'll be close. It's not going to get it's not going to be a big blowout because New Orleans doesn't have the offensive power to really do that. But I think that their defense is so strong and so stout that with Daniel, turnover Jones, that I think that it's just going to keep them from being able to score as readily to keep to actually have a chance to win the game. So I like New Orleans at -1 at home, low over under. They're not going to put up a lot of points, but they'll win by probably about a touchdown. I'm looking at like a 21-14 game, something like that. And so I like those are my 2 sides for that teaser.
All right, hitting you guys with Mike's teaser of the week. He's got Miami plus 3.5. Going to do that homer pick. Green Bay -0.5. And then Baltimore +5. And all those together give you a plus 160. I'm going to agree with every single one of those. I think Miami's got a very good shot at winning this game. I think Green Bay's got a chance to demolish this week up against – oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I know.
Oh, I was going to say 49ers, but I know that's wrong.
No, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's your team. Sorry. I don't know why my brain jumped there. And then Baltimore +5. I'm going to have to agree there. I've actually got 2 of those straight in my next pick, so can't argue.
So, I mean, you guys heard me earlier say Miami minus the 2.5, so I don't hate the other side of that. And I stayed away from the Pittsburgh game from betting purposes because I try to keep my heart out of things when I'm getting into these bets. But I don't see any way that Pittsburgh is actually going to go into Green Bay and win that game outright. So when you can tease that down to minus half a point, all you got to do is win the game. And I think there's really only about a less than a 5% chance for Pittsburgh to even win that game. So I like that side of the bet. And Baltimore, I think, in Denver, there's a chance that Denver wins the game, but I don't think there's a chance they are going to win it by a touchdown or more. So I don't necessarily hate it. I just don't like teasing back around through 0. So that's why I kind of stay away from some of those aspects of the teasers. But the 3 individual bets on their own I would make, so I don't necessarily hate them all lumped together.
Okay. And then my last one, I've got a 4-leg parlay, all straight money line, and I'm taking Tampa to win, Baltimore to win, Tennessee to win, and Miami to win. All that for plus 495. The only one I'm really scared about right now is obviously that Miami game. I don't want to say I guarantee a win for Miami, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lost. So it's the scary part to this one for me, but it just makes me that more excited to go to the game tomorrow and sit there and root for my team, knowing I've got some money on the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the aspects about betting also that is it gives you that stake in the game. It makes the game that much more fun to watch. Just having just a little bit sprinkled on a game makes it just that much more fun and that much more interesting. So I get that. I don't hate those 4 teams that you picked. I like those sides in every one of those games. And in fact, the next game my next bet is my last bet of the week. I'm actually going to introduce something new that I don't think John had actually ever heard of before this week.
Well, I didn't know it by its name. I knew you could do it. I didn't know it by its name, though.
So this is called an alternative line. So you can sell points or buy points from the books in certain situations. Now, every time you sell a point, it's going to cost you about 25 cents to the dollar in juice. Okay, so every time you buy a point, it's going to cost you about 25 cents. And then buying onto or off of 3 and 7s, the key numbers, it's going to cost a little bit more. Whereas when you're selling points, it's going to sell at about 25 cents on the dollar, but you're not going to get that extra juice the way the book does when you sell onto or off of 3 or 7. So that's one of the extra ways that the bookies try to squeeze out a little extra value for themselves without giving it back to you. So it's something to pay attention to if you ever buy points or sell points. Okay. But this week, my bet is an alternative line, and it's that Tampa Bay New England game. Give me Tampa Bay minus 21 points. I know that's like a college football spread, and I understand that this is the NFL, and that's a big line. But, guys, I don't care. This is the Brady revenge tour right now. He's going back to New England. He's going back to New England as the reigning Super Bowl champ, the only player in NFL history to have 7 Super Bowl rings. He has more rings than any single franchise in the NFL.
Even the team he won 6 of them for.
Exactly. So I think that he is going in, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are fired up after that loss this last week, and they are going to lay a smackdown on the New England Patriots in a completely demoralizing fashion for Bill Belichick and the rest of the New England Patriots. Guys, while Mac Jones has played well for a rookie, he hasn't played well at all. He hasn't been good. And is it that much to blame him for? I mean, he doesn't really have anyone to throw the ball to. His best receiving option right now is Jacoby Myers. The tight ends that they brought in and paid a lot of money aren't doing anything. I don't see a lot of faith. You've lost your dump-off piece with James White. He's gone out of the backfield. I just don't see how New England is going to score up against this Tampa Bay defense, who has still a pretty solid pass defense. And they have a great defensive line that's going to put Mac Jones under a lot of pressure. This is one of those games that I really think, can the Patriots even score 10 points? I'm not sure that they can. I think I'm looking at this game and thinking it's going to be like a 31-3 or a 35-3 kind of game. So I'm taking an alternative line this week, and I'm sprinkling a little bit of money on Brady and the Bucks to go minus 21 and cover that line and give me plus 425 on that bet.
Okay. Hey, I like it. I think it's very possible. I'd jump all over it if I had more money to spend. But I got all my money on some of my bets already. And I'm liking it. I'm actually looking to just grab my wallet because I'm going to drop a 10-team money line parlay that I'm not going to recommend to anyone but myself. And we'll see how that works out. It's $10 to win $1,600.
See, we've all done crazy things. I mean, I drunkenly put in a 7-team parlay on hockey one year and I have no good knowledge on hockey. Back then I didn't even watch hockey. Just drunkenly put in a little 7-team parlay for $50 and hit for $2,700. So, crazy things happen. It's part of the fun having those extra little sweats. Because sometimes, you know what? Yeah. They hit.
Yeah, end of the football season last year, I had some money left on the account I used, and it was the middle of a Lakers game, and I ended up putting all of my winnings was like $100 on the Lakers who were losing by like 10 points, and I was like, yeah, screw it, put it on the Lakers to win the game because there was like a full quarter and a half left. They ended up winning it. I got like $250, and I put it all in the way I cashed out was in Bitcoin, so. As I was holding the Bitcoin surged up, turned into like $500 off of a bet. It was awesome.
Nice.
It worked out.
See, those are those fun stories that we love to hear about. If you guys have any, of those crazy bookie stories, make sure you drop them in the comments or hit us up on Twitter and let us know what you guys are doing, what you guys are seeing out there. We'd love to talk to you guys about it on socials.
All right. And just for my own sanity here, I want your opinion on this. It's a 9-pick straight money line parlay. We got the Titans, the Bucks, the Rams, the Ravens. I got Washington in there. Now you don't like that one. I actually picked Detroit, Dallas, Kansas City, and Miami. So Detroit, Washington, and the Rams are the 3 I'm afraid of.
Okay, so I understand that. I like the Atlanta side on that. I understand your fear of the Rams side of the bet, but I do think that they're going to get the win. They are at home in that divisional game, and they might just be the best team in the entire NFL right now.
It might be.
So
we'll find out. I think this is a proving game for them.
I definitely agree with you because Arizona looks really strong, but man, the Rams are just great on both sides of the ball. And when you have Jalen Ramsey in that secondary, it just covers up a lot of flaws elsewhere because your second corner doesn't have to be nearly as good when your first is just such a lockdown guy like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
that one's a little bit of a worry, but the one that concerns me the most, I guess, would be the Washington bet because I like Atlanta to win the game outright. And then I actually like Detroit money line.
It added a lot of juice. It added a lot of pump to the bet.
Yeah, I like that. So You'll have to let us know how that drops next week.
I'll be tweeting if it hits. But, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to check out the live stream tomorrow. Brad, I hope you get your beautiful face in that little live stream with us. And everyone, make sure to watch the Miami Dolphins game. You might be able to see me and Mike on camera cheering in the end zone after John just hit his 9-leg parlay. So make sure to check you guys next time. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your football. And we'll see you again Monday.
Bye, guys.